Before I get started with this commentary, let me give a shout out to Trill, Texas for sending this to me. This is one reason why I'm so glad that I have such loyal followers and subscribers who send me stuff, because I'm going to be honest, I get so many stories every single day that I will lose track of stories that I did that I wish I would have kept up with. And this is one of those stories right here. So this is an updated story from an incident that happened last year. But as you can see, this is Corey Pujols in the picture. And in case y'all don't remember, he was the employee who worked at a Dunkin Donuts down in Florida who was the victim of racism when a older white man who was, I believe, 77 at the time, came into his store and started shouting racial slurs towards him and only him. And Corey gave the man a warning to leave the store. And, you know, to like just leave. But the white guy, the PC, decided he was going to continue to taunt him. So what did Corey do? He punched this guy so hard that he fell back and hit his head. And 3 days later, that PC man died. And then they arrested and charged Corey with manslaughter. Like, they instantly slapped some heavy charges on him. Well, now the update has come forward where he has now pled guilty to what he did, and they reduced his charge of manslaughter down to a felony battery. And now he has to do 2 years of house arrest and I think 3 years of probation. What did I just do a video on? Didn't I just do a video on Mark Wilson, who defended himself and tried to use stand your ground? And I said it didn't work for him. Here we are a day later with an update to this of a guy who was defending himself against a racist POS, and he did what he had to do. Corey didn't think that this punch was going to take this guy out, and I don't even think the punch is what did it. I think him hitting his head on the floor is, in my opinion, is what took him out. But they try to make it seem like, you know, it was him that did it because he was the last one to have a physical contact with him. But they literally found a way to victimize the antagonizer and villainize the person who would be seen as the victim. Again, stand your ground does not work for black people. And he's in Tampa. He's in Florida. The first time I heard about stand your ground, which was with George Zimmerman, happened in what state? Florida. So we know stand your ground works there. And I don't know if he tried to use it or not, but even if he did, it still wouldn't have worked in his favor. Again, proving my point right. That stand your ground does not work for black people. Now, remember how I always said that there's a reason why a lot of black people don't go against these races? It's not because they don't want to. It's because they know the consequence is going to fall more onto them rather than the person. And what do we have? 2 back-to-back stories where you had one in a car who had racist slurs thrown at him, and he defends himself. And what happens? He's about to be on trial for defending himself. And you have another one right here where a guy defended himself against a racist POS, and his punch contributed to that POS dying. And what does he get? Manslaughter charges immediately before he pleads guilty and gets it reduced. That's why like I said, I believe a lot of black people do not try to fight against Dub S or the system of Dub S, because it never works in their favor, even when defending themselves. And we've seen that over and over and over again, that in this system, we still, even when we're defending ourselves against them, we still get the short end of the stick. But it comes a time where, you know what, you have to like wash your hands of everything and like, look, I'm not going to be disrespected anymore. It is what it is, and if I have to take the good with the bad, most of the time more bad than good, then so be it. But he shouldn't even be getting this, even with the plea deal. 2 years of house arrest and 3 years probation because he was called a slur. Now, if he didn't take this plea deal, because originally he pled not guilty, so they said, you know what, here's the plea deal. You won't have to do any jail time. You just have to do 2 years of house arrest. But that's a long 2 years to do house arrest. He's literally confined to certain metrics in his area. If they're doing house arrest, then he's literally confined to his home for 2 years, and then has to do 3 years probation after he's done with the house arrest. So he's literally a ward of the state, practically, if you want to call it that. And I hope I'm not misusing that terminology, for the next 5 years. He's practically in a prison without being in an actual prison. All because he defended himself against Dub S. And this is the consequence. This is the consequence of black people defending themselves against this system that we live in. We don't win. Even when we feel like we might have a sliver of a win, we really don't win at the end of the day. I don't see this as a win for him. It's a win in the fact that he won't have to actually be in jail. But think about it. He's been locked up until him taking this plea deal, which was for like the last almost year, because it happened in May of last year, and he just took the plea deal like this week. And this was the best that they could get him. Like I said, the good thing is that he doesn't have to spend any more time in jail. But look, it said they took the manslaughter off, but he has felony battery. That keyword there is felony, which means that's going to be on his record for the rest of his life. Unless after his probationary period, after these 5 years, his record for the next 3 years of his probationary period. I mean, when he's on probation, he's going to have to adhere to the requirements of his probation, which most likely requires him to work. And 9 times out of 10, he won't be able to go back to that Dunkin that he was working at. That became a crime scene the day that he threw that punch. Righteous, but it became a crime scene nonetheless. Like I said, like I keep telling people, we are going to call this out regardless, because I'm calling it out right now. I'm going to continue to call it out. But at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that even in the system, when we defend ourselves, we still don't win. I gave you an example with Mark Wilson, and now here's another example with Corey Pujols. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you have not done so already, make sure you go ahead and hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.